Okay, welcome back to the Micky and Woody Show. It's episode 4. Micky, again, mate, we had a we had a good response last week to the Johnny Vegas and Paul Sculthorpe podcast. It was a bit hectic, wasn't it? I think it probably a little bit calmer with this week's guest.
Yeah.
But I think it should be another corker. What have you been up to this week, Mick?
Just this week, just been besides topping my tan up and burning my bald patch. I've been doing a thing every week for the Rugby League because the home workouts. Obviously, you've done it for yourself. I've joined in with you, Woody, as well. I've helped you to come in, so been doing that one. Not much else. I've just kind of, obviously, because the restrictions now with the lockdowns, they're easing slightly. I've tried to just get a couple of one-on-one PTs back in. You know, looking to get some small groups back in now, in obviously not in the gym, outside and stuff. So, yeah, a few bits and bats and just trying to plan for hopefully some more good news on Sunday. We can move forward.
Yeah, well, I was meant to be having a quiz last night, Zoom quiz. I've been doing it every Saturday, but someone let me down. So
Who was that?
Mrs. and Mr. Iron. So we need to have a chat about that. Anyway, let's go on to this week's guest. For me, we've pulled a blinder here. I don't know how we've done it, but we give a few clues out through the week, but a 22-year career at Arsenal Football Club, over 650 appearances, over 60 caps for England. He's won 4 top-flight Premier Division titles, 3 FA Cups, 2 Football League Cups, and the UEFA Cup. And he was also the president of the Rugby Football League in 2019. And I'll have to say this one, he's got an MBE and he's also got a statue outside the Emirates Stadium. So what a guest there, you know what I mean? What a career that is.
Who is it?
It's me. It's Tony Adams, the former Rugby League player and former Rugby Football League president.
Hi guys,
Thanks.
yeah, absolute pleasure, absolutely honoured to be here, and looking forward to our chat. Thanks, Tony. A really special guest, and thanks for giving it. Well, I say obviously there's quite a bit of time at the moment for people, but to give up for to come on the show is really a real good coup for us, and thanks for agreeing to do it. And hopefully we'll have some fun.
Yeah, Tony. I mean, looking back at your career, I mean, I grew up watching you play for Arsenal as a young kid, but looking at detail into your career, achieved so much. You're an England Hall of Fame football player. You've won so many trophies. And we had a joke off her that Arsenal were classed as the Invincibles once you'd left. But the career that Arsenal have had and the history that they've got while you was there and captain, absolutely formidable. You must be really proud of your footballing career.
That's why I've come on. Keep talking, guys. I love it. I got really good at it. I retired 18 years ago. It's nice to have your ego boosted now and again. That's great news, yeah. Actually, in 91, we lost 1 game that year, in the season 1991, and I was in prison for that game. So I was actually invincible in 1991. I'm claiming it. And, they were... I was very, very honoured to play. I joined the club 1979 as a frightened little schoolboy, and stayed with the club till 2002 and won everything that I needed to win, and captained the club for 13, 14 years, as you said. And the statistics and the honours don't really tell the story, to be honest with you. And I've done 2 books over the course of my career, and in the first part of it, I was a very different character. I was full of anger, I was really driven. And the second part of my career, when I got recovery, I loved every minute of it. I walked onto the football pitch clear of my love and heart, and I really wanted to be there. Football for me at the start was escape. I didn't like me at the end of the day. At the beginning of, as a small boy at school, I did a bit recently with the Arsenal learning department, going into schools and talking to the kids. And, I was saying to them, 13, 14 years, I couldn't handle a classroom. You know, it just wasn't for me. You know, I was just so full of fear. And there was one great example of the book going round the class. And as it's going round, I'm having a panic attack. I know now. I didn't know at the time. I was just shit scared at the time. You know what I mean? You're just shitting yourself, and the book's coming round to you, and you've got to read this thing. You know, read out loud. And because I'm in such a state and I'm having such a panic attack, I kind of completely cock it up, and I say wheelie instead of really, and everybody laughed. Everybody laughed at me. You know, and I had to. Oh my God, I can't handle that. So I run to the football pitch. It was the only place I felt kind of comfortable. I felt okay. I suppressed all those thoughts and feelings in football. You know, I just, every minute of the day, I was out over the park, kicking the ball. I couldn't do life on life terms. You know what I mean? I couldn't do that. I couldn't do girlfriends. You know, my first girlfriend was Juicy Lucy, but she was in my head. You know what I mean? All my mates having girlfriends and all that, 15, 16. I'm like, oh, I don't want to know about all this. So I had me Juicy Lucy in my head because she was safe. You know what I mean? She was great, actually. She was. But yeah. It's a different kind of character. I had this conversation with Sir Alex Ferguson about, you know, the way that he kind of, the style of his management. And we've had a lot of Man United players through my clinic, and we might go on to that later on. But just the, you know, and I've looked at tapes of me in the early days, and I was a kind of man possessed, you know what I mean? It's like I didn't know. It's like football was holding me together at the same time, do you know? It was like the only thing that kind of propped me up. You know, when I walked onto the football pitch and crossed that line, I was kind of complete. I was kind of happy and everything else. But when I walked off of it, I was off the planet, and booze really worked for me in that point. But I've started to waffle. Sorry, guys.
No, it's brilliant. It's interesting that you said, like, I think people perceive you, certainly like rugby players and footballers, that you're like this kind of a robot, don't they? That has no emotions, no feelings. You go out, you get, obviously in our terms, you get smashed every week. So like why can you be so like, you know, have issues, or when you've got everything you want? But like, there's some high pressure in high level sport as well, isn't there? You know, we're still normal people with feelings and family, and you know, and I think people don't see that side of you, and they think like, oh, why should he be anything wrong with him? I don't know. It's just something always kind of sticks with me.
Yeah, there's no discrimination. It's the only industry, you know, you've got someone on the sideline ready to take your position. You know, if you're in a local supermarket, you ain't got like 16 people in the queue waiting for you to do it wrong, so they step in and you're out of a job, mate. You know what I mean? It's your livelihood, and away you go. Yeah, it is feelings, and there's the pressure of, you know, and I'm pretty much certain if I wasn't as good as I was, you know, technically, that I wouldn't have had a job. You know, I would have been thrown out of the club years ago, such was my behaviour, you know, and I couldn't handle the pressure. You know, the fans every week were booing me and calling me donkey, and, you know, up at Middlesbrough once, I got a carrot in my head, and, you know, all those feelings, I didn't talk about all that stuff. I just suppressed it all. You know, and that's not healthy. I can tell you today, that's not healthy, and it comes out sideways. And you go home and you're you know what I mean. I wasn't good to live with because I'm suppressing all this stuff. You know, I wasn't a kind of emotionally mature human being. You know, we got smashed back in the day in football when physical contact was allowed as well. I actually broke my nose 5 times in the first year of my career. We used to have fights every week. Good old days. Proper game. That was great fun. But I digressed again. But yeah, they do. You know, we're not special and different. That would make us sad. But it's like, no, you know, it's got its own set of stuff. Any sport has, you know. You can go, you know, I'm a doctor. I don't know what it's like to be a doctor. I don't know what it's like to be a postman. You know, that comes with its own pressure and its own stuff. Sports people, we've got our own kind of set of kind of stuff. And it doesn't matter if you've got $1 million in the bank or you've got 5 cars. You know, at the end of my drinking, I tell you that I had 5 houses, 3 cars but no driving license, 2 boats, and my head right up my arse. Do you understand? Do you know what I mean? And it was just materialism. It was like completely spiritually dead, emotionally bankrupt, physically wanting to kill myself. What house can you kill yourself in today? That's the brain. And anyway, I am waffling again. I'm sorry, guys.
No, yeah. I think just something to touch on there, Tony. I think, you use the word escapism, and I totally get that, because I think, for me personally, this is only my opinion, I'm not doing a study on this, but I think within sport, no matter what sport you're doing, you analyse a lot and you do a lot of thinking away from your actual training environment. And I completely get where you're coming from. A training environment or a playing day it's a way of escapism. It basically brings us back to that. All we can think about is what we're doing at that specific time. So I think a lot of rugby players, not rugby players, football, sports people, whoever it is, once they get in that environment, I think it's a real safe haven for them. Do you think that's why a lot of players, when they come away from that environment, are struggling?
Yeah, they do. With the transition, I was fortunate enough that I got recovery while I was still playing. It doesn't usually happen that way. We usually get, sports people come into the treatment centre and come into the clinic when their arse is falling out their backside, But I was very grateful for that. But to get it in when I was still playing, and it's the emotional stuff. And I always talk to the guys. And I say to them, if you've got an injury, if you've got an injury, if you've got a bad knee, who do you go and see? And they go, oh, the physio. I said, well, if you've got a kind of problem, mentally emotional problem, who do you talk to at the club? And they go, rugby league. We might go on to that as well. It's right down the road with this. They emotionally are really. I've really, since 2011, and I've done all the clubs, as you probably well know, that education-wise, they're emotionally literate. They are, they're kind of talking the stuff now, But football is a very boy industry. If we're talking across rugby and football, my experiences, like you, not my opinion, my experiences, forget that if you show, they kind of feel it as a weakness. If you're saying, look, I'm having an argument with the missus, I've got a bereavement problem, I've got emotionally, I'm a bit depressed today, you're not going to go to your coach in football for that. You know what I mean? It's not, you might have a new contract and all the contracts are running out at the end of June. And you imagine being in a place now where you've got an emotional or mental problem. You've got something on your plate that you're emotionally at the moment, it's a bit of a rough time for you. You imagine going to your coach and saying, he'll say, right, no contract for next year, then I'll take the next person, because he's stronger than you because he's got it all under control. You know what I mean? On the face of it, But I know now today that admitting my issues with someone in a safe place, with someone that you trust, gives me the power. It makes me strength. It gives me power. I reclaim my power, and I go and I share it with everybody now today because it is a real strength. Just to say, look, I'm not man, because I know when I went onto that football pitch, I had to get all this stuff out before I actually crossed the line, because I knew if I was having problems at home, I take it onto the pitch, and I can't be doing that. I need to leave it all behind, all my problems, all my issues, whatever, all my good stuff maybe, and then go on to the football pitch free. It's the only way that I play in the last 6 years. I won 2 doubles in time, and I've got to say, I say it often to remind people that I was more successful as a player than ever I was when I was clean and sober. You know what I mean? And it's important to say that. People think I don't go for this I lost my mojo type of scenario. Some people go, oh, you know what I mean? You kind of, no, it made me probably the best person I could be, and the best player that I could be. I fulfilled my potential as a person, as a human being, and I fulfilled my potential as a player in those last 6 years, clear of mind and a loving heart. So that made me, anyway, that made me very powerful.
Yeah, I mean, some people say me and Micky, we've got a good friendship, we've got a good bond, and often they say that you know, it's because he's one extreme and I'm another. No, I was the type of guy, you know, who struggled to handle the pressure and to open up to people. And Micky wouldn't tend to worry about stuff. He's very laid back, and, you know, if he'd lose his position in the team or he would get injured, I would say, "Are you not frustrated?" He'd say, "I'll just get on with it." You know, so not every player is sort of, you know, like an emotional, you know, wrecking ball going round. But there are, I think there's more often than not, there's a lot of players who are carrying a lot of emotional baggage, and they do still see that weakness.
Is Micky emotionally balanced then, is he? He's kind of one of those.
To be,
I want to be him.
He is, man.
Easy come, easy go.
I'm just, yeah. I think I'm good at just putting it behind me. I'm just, you know, it's.
Let it go, my God. Teach me how you do that. I want to cling on to
everything. I wish I knew. I might be a very, very rich man if I knew how to do it.
Listen, I'll pick up the resentment if you look at me the wrong way. You know what I mean?
I know.
You say the wrong word to me, I'm coming round your house. I resent your children. You know what I mean? Your grandchildren. I carry it around for years.
You know what though? It's funny you say it, because I do. I have a gym. I've got a gym. Try Fitness, by the way, in Lee. And obviously, because the gyms are shut at the moment, I've been doing for me, obviously, because I've got some members that are still listening to uni classes. So I do like 3 online live classes a week. And during the classes, my dog will come out and jump all over me when I'm on the floor. My kids will come and like boot the ball behind me because they know I'm doing something. And there's about 3 or 4 people last few days said, like, "How have you not lost your cool? Like, everybody running past you and like you just move out of the way and carry on as though nothing's wrong." I'm like, I must just be like in the zone because I'm doing it and focus on that. And like people like, not, you know, not calling your kids or anything, but like, how have you not lost the temper and like booted dog across garden or
it's taken me 24 years of therapy to get like that, Micky, and a hell of a lot of money.
I think that's why he's bald. He's half monk, I think, because he's just so peaceful. But you know, sometimes even working on this podcast, Micky, you know, Micky said it himself, and I say it. Sometimes I give Micky a kick up the arse because I'm very obsessive, and Micky's very laid back. And sometimes he has to pull me back and say, "Whoa, calm down." So if you could put our personalities into one, I think it'd be like it'd be the ideal person, wouldn't it?
Perfect man, isn't
it? There's and what I try to create in the last 6 years of my career at Arsenal Football Club as the captain is a environment of communication. You guys talk to each other. Do you know what I mean? We had, before I sobered up, before I cleaned up, it was the stick. You know, I ruled by the stick. You know, I got all them players. I didn't give a shit really if it was you, Paul, or you, Micky. You've got to do as you're told, guys, and you've got to get out there and perform. I'm the captain. You're going to do it. You know what I mean? And it was like, "Oh, come on, yeah." And it was like pinning people up against brick walls and all sorts of stuff. And I learned new ways. And it's about communication. And you guys talk to each other. You know, great friend of mine now, Lee Dixon. He's been there in the past, and I never talked to him because I didn't have the ability to talk to him. But when I got clean and sober and I started to come to, and you know, we've got a fantastic relationship, and I one by one, and I realised that the makeup of the dressing room is all different as well. And we had a lot of foreigners come into the game in our time, and different cultures and different languages. And if I was to put myself, lucky I did clean up and get a bit of recovery, because if I'd put that animal back into that with all those people, I would have just been bang, bang, bang. I would have just come up against it all the time, as I did. You know, we had a fullback from Africa, Lauren. He's like African Football of the Year, you know what I mean? He's an awesome player. And he just didn't like me, and I didn't like him, you know what I mean? But we've got to get a working relationship. And luckily, I had someone else to talk to that I actually kind of worked this string words and was able to kind of work through myself to stay free and to go, okay, this is it. You know, I'm not going to go out for a cup of tea with him. You know what I mean? And we don't, you know, we're not talking now. But at the time, I needed a working relationship with the guy. I needed to interact with him. I needed to communicate with him in some way. You know, and I realised later on, and it's like always paradigm shifts in there, and what you think at the time, and paradoxes and everything else. His wife was having a really good time. I think she was very ill, and you go, oh Jesus Christ, that I thought he was just a miserable so and so. You know what I mean? You don't know. They don't communicate this stuff. You don't know. You see this guy walking around like with, arrogant and kind of detached from the group. You're going, oh, what's he like? You know, you can come to judgments that are not true, you know.
It's interesting you said that, Tony, that, once you got into recovery, that, you become more understanding of people and, I don't know whether empathy is the word, empathise more with people, but, how some current sportsmen of today's world would probably see that as a weakness. I think you said losing your mojo. I think some people would say, well, I don't want to be that person, but you're saying it actually improved your career by doing that and become a better leader for it.
Well, 100%. And I say it all the time, I became a better player physically. Straight away, I'm not consuming the levels of alcohol that I was, in the past. So straight away, that come back. I used to, before I stopped drinking, it was bloody hard work, getting on the training pitch every day, getting onto, oh, Jesus Christ. Physically, it was really hard. I didn't break sweat for that 90 minutes. It was so easy. Physically, it came straight back to me. Mentally, yeah, a little bit more tricky, a little bit more tricky, but a lot of thoughts and feelings, emotions, and those are the two things that I really had to work on and start opening up my mouth. And yeah, I did become a different person, and it made me more powerful. I'm going over a little bit of old stuff, but yeah, it definitely the ability to communicate, and I had I was 6 weeks clean and sober when I got the teacher from heaven. I got this spiritual human being, Arsene Wenger, that walked into the club, and he kind of threw up a whole different way of managing with love. My God, look at us three softies, with kindness and consideration and compassion. All these words I've never bloody heard of, mate. You know what I mean? I thought we was fight. He managed with love. You're having a bad day today, Tony. Why don't you take the day off? Day off? We never have days off. I always remember it's lovely starting. It might sum his style of management up, which was really interesting. We had emotionally up and down. Ian Wright used to play for us. And he was coming in from Croydon every single day late, every single day. I said to Arsene, you're going to say something on me. I'm going to pin him. If you don't see, I'm 6 weeks clean and sober, so I'm not going to pin him, but I'm having a conversation. And Arsene said, no, we put training back so you can get in on time. I went, what? Put training back? What are you talking about? He said, but listen, he said, we need him at the moment. He said, the minute we don't need him, we get rid of him. I said, I'm not going to have confrontation. I said, we put training back. We allow him to come in. We train with him. We need him. I feel it's a little bit kind of, oh, ouch type of stuff, because he is using him at the end of the day. And to be honest with you, there's a balance in life as well. I think there's a balance. I actually pinned righty as well as a righty. We all got to pick the kids up in the afternoon, so get yourself inside. So there is a balance. There's a time for confrontation, I think, as well. And Arsene was completely against confrontation. At no time did he always walked away. He went for a walk every time. He had no place for it. It's really interesting.
Yeah. You want to thought that with his, when you see him on, like, so obviously, when you see people on telly or, in your interviews and that, you think he'd have that, confrontation and man management. It just shows, doesn't it? Like, again, behind the scenes and whatever, it's not always what it portrays, is it?
Yeah. I think it's a bit of a balance as well, because he had me in there was such a kind of leader. I was kind of,
So just on that,
filling his gap. I was filling his gap.
Sorry, I was just going to say, did he kind of then rely on you to potentially fill that confrontation gap or whatever.
He said a real genius thing, and I love it to bits. I went back there recently when he was still in, was that 3 years ago, when he was still in charge, and I kind of said, what's the biggest difference with this group of players that you're training today and the group that you had back in the day? You know, with us all, we were mental. And he said that, and he said, Tony, from Monday to Friday, I was training you guys. It was a nightmare. He said, I got headaches every day. He said, you were horrible. You were horrible to me. I hated every minute of it. You went onto the pitch on Saturday, and I was happy, and I was relaxed. He said, now, Monday to Friday, he loves it. My players are fantastic. They train, they're professional, it's brilliant. They go Saturday, I pull my hair out. They are bonkers. And I can see what he's saying, because, the games, it's not, you've got to really have balance again, and allowing players to actually develop their emotions. There's social media today, they're suppressing it in this, they're suppressing it in that. And if you're not careful, they're all going to run for the hills. And you don't let these players have their personalities. You said, Micky, Paul, you're very different characters and stuff. And you've got communication. So if you ain't got anybody in that environment saying, go on, it's all right. You're okay to do that. You're all right. Talk to that. You know what I mean? Grow up, some of you. If you've got no one doing that, they're just going to, you're just going to dive it underground. They're all gambling for fun at the moment. You know what I mean? Epidemic in professional football, for instance. They're all running for the hills, it's avoiding the way that you feel, It's really difficult.
I think there's just touching on what you said there as well, getting the balance. I think, it's, you talk about emotions, and it's using those emotions when they're needed, anger, not a bad emotion if it's channeled in the right way. But I get what you're saying, the actual having the anger and then leading with the stick in the changing room. I could be like that myself. The amount of times he had Lee Braisback scruff at neck in training because I felt like he'd insulted me or he wasn't trying hard enough. And looking back, that was the wrong way to handle that situation. But did I need anger to play rugby? Of course I needed it. Going back to Arsene Wenger, do you think that, was it frustrating that he was so sort of, I'll use the word spiritual, really, in the terms that you wanted to be more like him, and it was like, this guy gets it naturally, and I've got to work really, really damn hard to do that.
Well, I was working a program of recovery. I'd like to think that I was quite spiritual myself at the time, and we say when the pupil's ready, the teacher. And it's a cliche, but when the pupil's ready, the teacher appears. And we had some wonderful conversations. That's all. I wandered into his office every morning and had some lovely chats. But just going on a bit about anger, and it's quite tricky because you've got to. My first game back was Derby away when I got clean and sober, and we've gone up to Derby away. And 9 minutes, the old red mist has come down. Left back's gone down the side. I've come straight across, taking him out about neck high with my boot. Not like a tackle like you guys. I took him out with my studs. Straight off, red card. I was in the 9 minutes, so I had to really kind of hold on a minute. I can't walk onto the football pitch out of control like this. And I was always, one of the reasons I drank, numerous reasons, but one of the reasons is because I was such afraid of that anger. I always thought that I wouldn't be able to control it. So to actually talk about that anger in therapy, and then to be completely in control when you go onto a football pitch and be at one with your body, it's not anger, it's only words, but it comes from a different place. It's not it's not a red mist, angry kind of human being. I used to go, I was determined, I was resilient, I was full of, a strength, call it, it's different words, but I can't anger for me that it's out of control.
Yeah, I think to use a sporting term, we'd probably use the term the zone, where we're getting sort of a mixed balance of emotions, where there's anger, there's a calmness, there's a stillness, and you're just like you just said there, you become a one, and you sort of know that when you're going into a tackle. And again, I think it's that emotional balance that players need. Too much anger and you see in a red card. Right. We used to call it. Me and Mick used to work with Damien Hughes, and he used to use the chimp paradox. And don't use the chimp. Stay in the human part of the brain, and I think that's a massive thing.
But also just on that as well, you said though you need to let your chimp out now and again though to get it out there, then come back to normal, didn't he? He also did to that, but then it's just having that
in the right environment. Put it into the right environment,
Yeah.
I don't want to take it out on the missus. I don't think it should. Mate should be out the door tomorrow, and I don't want to lose it. She's like you, Micky, one of those easy come, easy goes, There's only one matter in the family still, and that's me. So.
Well, that's why I can't get rid of Woody. He won't leave. He knows.
At Get a Tax Rebate, we make it easy for you or your business to claim back thousands of pounds in tax. Most people, like Jane and Philip, don't realise that they are owed money from HMRC, so they never claim. All you need to do is fill out a simple form on our website and we'll do the rest. It's that simple. We've also helped business owners claim back millions of pounds in research and development R&D tax credits. So if you're working in a business or own one, contact us today to see if we can help you claim back tax and improve your cash flow. Get a Tax Rebate, your tax refund concierge.
$18.95 Sports on State of Mind, the ultimate lineup.
Okay, welcome back, guys. So that'll take us nicely into, Tony, after retirement, after such a, decorated football career, one of the most decorated English footballers we've had in this country. In 2000, you opened the Sporting Chance Clinic in order to help current sports players and ex-sports players with addiction. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and how that come about?
Yeah. Thanks. Well, it's actually, I sobered up August 16th, 1996, and started working the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. And it was a bit like this, really. The other players were I was like 2 years clean and sober, 18 months, 2 years clean and sober, just come back from the World Cup. And I was getting a few phone calls from other players and stuff going, oh my God, I'm in the shit. I'm drinking too much. I'm gambling too much. And I'm not a psychotherapist. I'm not a counsellor. I've been kicking the ball about for 22 years. So, I could get drunk, and play football. Those are two things that I could do, And when I sobered up, I went, well, how did I sober up, I went to see someone and I spoke about my stuff. And I thought, well, I'm going to make this person available to all my mates, because it's no point. Every person I was, was asking me for help, they were all becoming worse, to be honest with you. They're all getting drunk again. They're all gambling. And, I think, oh, my God, you know what I mean? So I'm not an expert in this field, but I do know someone that kind of got me clean and sober. So I just said to the guy, I said, look, do you want to, I'm thinking about, and it was coincidence after coincidence. I met a guy who was a journalist, 10 years clean and sober. And he said, look, Tony, if you ever want to do a book, let me know. I'd love to write it for you. And then I met he was a chairman of HarperCollins Publishing House, Eddie Bell. He sat in our West Stand, our big Arsenal fan. And he said, if you ever want to do a book, And I was doing step 4, which is a fearless and moral inventory in AA, or the 12 steps. And when I shared it, I didn't get the relief that I thought that I should have got. And the relief, and I kind of put that down to is all my shit was in public. All my, in the front News of the World is not around anymore, but front page of the News of the World was me sleeping with this prostitute, me doing this, me doing that. And if I didn't put a paper, if I didn't make an amends and put all my secret, we only say we're sick of your secrets, you know what I mean? You're only sick of your secrets. And I wanted to get all the things out your closet, you know what I mean? And I just wanted to get shot of all this stuff. So I did a paperback, a step 4 in paperback, which was Addicted. I got $250,000 for that, which after tax was about 167, which enabled me to start the Sporting Chance. I gave that because all businesses, first year, 50% of businesses go under. So the money really did that. I went to the Hazelden Group in America, very prestigious Betty Ford clinic, big history of how it works, how do you set up a treatment centre, how it works, and I thought I employed some NLP specialists that took 30 grand off of me and left the next day, and I went, oh my God, and then I was phoning up the British Olympic Association, and I was saying, what do you do with your players that are positive for a drugs test? They said, we ban them. And I said, yeah, but what do you do for the players? What do you do for your sports people? So I was getting I had the business up in place. I had the money from the book. I had the, as it were, therapist in place. And I got there was a woman that was leaving the charity commission, because I wanted to take the money issue out of it. I didn't want it for money. Do you know what I mean? And so I wanted it to be a charity and to be donations. And so she was leaving the charity commission. So I got in touch with her. I said, look, how do I set up a charity? Ros Hardwood was my first trustee, together with my dad's accountant. And the Sporting Chance was born. And we made a lot of mistakes at the beginning. And I think they do, I always used the phrase, we was always falling forwards. We was learning quickly by our mistakes. And what is it like today? We've grown over 20 years now, and we've got 4 services. We've still got the rehab, the clinic. It started as a clinic, which is for substance abuse and gambling addictions. We've got over 200 one-to-one therapists across the country now. We've got a 24/7 helpline, and we've got an 8 in the education department that goes around 150 sports organisations and clubs last year, less so this year with the lockdown, but they go around the clubs spreading the message. So that's where we are today. I'm very proud of it. I'm very proud of the people that work in the organisation. It's God-given. It wasn't me. Something worked through me. It's meant to be. And it's morphed into something that's quite amazing. We've got 16 stakeholders now. We've just got the squash on board. The tennis have got them on board. Very privileged that, our second biggest contract. To be honest with you, the rugby league, and this is what going to why I took the presidency last year, they spend more per player on player welfare than any other organisation in the world. And I think that is really a credit to your, and I want to say mine, but your industry, you know what I mean? It's, they spend more on player welfare than any other sport, snooker, darts and everything. And they're all new stakeholders now. But I really got into the education in 2011 with Tony Smith, and he opened the door up. And it was my experience right at the start. We had a guy who's it's a bit like Marmite for the PFA chairman, Gordon Taylor, bless him. But he opened up the door for me. He was going, okay, I'll give you a go, Tone. I'll give your treatment centre a go. And all you needed is a little crack. You only needed someone a little bit like-minded that go a little bit open. So, okay, yeah. and step by step, you know, I was back in the day. I'm not talking too much again, but they used to thought I was away with the fairies. You know what I mean? Talking about thoughts and feelings and picking up league titles and stuff. I was like, they said, what are you going to do? Our first ever Christmas drink. I'll give you this one. I will show. First ever Christmas drink. I'm 4 months clean and sober, and the year before I'm in blackout. I'm at the bar. You know, I'm reckless. I'm out of control. I'm the source of everybody else's entertainment, not mine, because I was actually killing myself at that point. But I was entertainment. So I'm thinking, right now, actually, I'm clean and sober now. I'm 4 months and I'm living the dream. It's brilliant. My head's clear. I've got to love it. I'm going to do it. So 12 o'clock, Leicester Square. Thank God it's Friday. We're going to stand there like we used to, toe for toe. You drink lager, whatever you want to drink, and I'm going to have cappuccino. 27 cappuccinos later, mate, I was still standing. shaking like a leaf. I was caffeined up to the eyeballs. I didn't sleep for 3 days, but I didn't drink. And I did notice, actually, that most of them went home. There's not a lot of them that used to drink like me, to be honest. A few of them went home to their families. I couldn't believe it. I mean, oh my God, did you go home to your family?
Why do you think it is, though, that we see so many sporting personalities? It's become there's a lot of big advocates now in sport who are talking about mental health, you know, and addiction and going into rehab and you know, the sort of people can look at that from an outsider's point of view and say, well, you know, why are these guys depressed? Why are they going into rehab? Why are they addicted? They've got everything. They're living the dream. But so why do we tend to see what's your opinion on that, Tony?
It's just my experience again. To be honest with you, sport doesn't stand outside of society. It's a part of society. So you're getting the same statistics whether you're going to be a doctor or a postman, but you just happen to be a rugby league player and quite a famous rugby league player, or you're quite a famous tennis player. So there's more media around that. So, you know, you won't give a monkey if it's a postman. Do you know what I mean? I came in with a postman and a tube driver. You know, they haven't had the interest that I've had in the last 24 years. You know, it just doesn't happen. So sometimes we think that we're a little bit special and different, but there's only a cross section of us. I think they say it's like 10% of the population. You know what I mean? So we're talking, you know, 10% of sport. You know, and of those 10%, only 10%, you know, get into recovery, and then only 10% get 1 year, and then the stacks are against us. One good thing is, and it's a positive, and it's maybe a negative, is that the people are asking for help now, and that wouldn't be done, you know. And the more we talk about it, you know, suicide is still straight up there. It's the biggest killer under 45. You know, what's going on, guys? Come on, for fuck's sake. Sorry.
No, it's fine.
No, it's right.
But, no, it makes me really angry. You know what I mean? Come on, guys. You know, I lost a friend 18 months ago. Oh, it's bloody hell, yeah. 18 months ago now. You know what I mean? And Jesus, you know, kind of get it out. You know.
Well, we lost a good friend a few years ago. It was about 10 years ago, wasn't it, Woody?
Yeah.
And we were on a end of season trip, and all the lads holiday, weren't we? And we were like speaking to him on the Friday, and I think we come home Saturday night, was it, or the Sunday morning, to the news what we heard, and we're like, you know, just
a very poignant point for rugby league, really, wasn't it, Micky? Because it was Terry Newton, who killed himself, and you know, like Micky said, we were speaking to him the day before over the telephone, and it was just a sudden shock. But you know, me and Micky knew him personally. We'd been involved with him at Great Britain and played against him, and just the last person who you would have thought would have actually done that, and it was such a big eye opener. And I think it's been such a, if there's one positive, you know, that's come out of it, it's that people are now speaking, because he was the toughest of the tough, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah, you give me some lessons, because I played the same position as Terry now, a young kid coming through. You were like last of the older school, weren't he, that were around when they were, you know, late 2000s or whatever. And you know, like you say, it's the last person you'd have thought to do something like that. But it just shows.
Blame. You blame yourself, and I'm in the bloody industry, and when I get someone that kind of you go, Jesus, you know what I mean? Why can't they get it? Why can't they just open up? And one thing about recovery and lucky enough to be in the rooms and stuff, we don't shoot our wounded, and we keep on getting them back, and we keep, this relapse is part of the illness. Do you know what I mean? So we keep on going in, and I've had pals bounce along the bottom for years and years, and all of a sudden one day they go, well, hallelujah, and then you're like, God, Jesus, we've been talking about you for years, but they are the ones to watch. You don't know what's going on underneath. Do you know what I mean? You said about your pal, and you think that they've got it all together, and that's why you've got to keep going back in and saying, how you doing, pal? How you doing? How are you doing here? What's going on? And the tendency with us guys, and I've had my, I'm on the spectrum for bipolar, and I'm clinically depressed a few years ago. I could have fucking told them that. But the tendency for us people is to put the mask on, but to look, to run away under the duvet. So you get the face, you get the, hi guys, how you doing? All right. Luckily today that I am talking to people, and I'm talking to bloody everybody. I'm not running away, and I'm not kind of closing down. I've got this great one, don't lock down in lockdown. You know what I mean? It's quite, when I went to prison, I kind of just locked up, and my prison was on the outside. When I got out of prison, I was worse than I was inside. I just completely locked down. I couldn't handle everything. I run away. But if anyone had asked me during that period, and a lot of people do now, from my 6 years of drinking and stuff, you weren't that bad, you all right? Of course I was. I was like every morning, I am all in, how you doing, all right? And then boom, crying under me duvet. Going out.
And I think, like you said, like rugby invested in that player welfare. I think it's brilliant that we've been around and educated now, because I think there's more people as well now looking out for the mates a little bit more now, and like, you all right now? We're like, that wouldn't have happened 10, 15 years ago. You'd have just waited for something to explode. But now it's like, I know when there's something not right with Woody. 100% I know when, I can you can kind of sense stuff now, and I think it's a brilliant thing that we can.
Yeah, there were 6 players. And one official at the Challenge Cup final that Sporting Chance had been in contact with, and that's a credit to you guys, because it shouldn't be a surprise, because you guys have all been talking to each other now. The education and the great thing that we do, and we do introduce it to other sports, but the others are newer contracts. But since 2011, we've done a survey with the Rugby League. And we've asked them 3 questions. Do you know who Sporting Chance are? Do you know what Sporting Chance do? And do you know how to access Sporting Chance? 98%, guys, it came back with you guys. We did a survey. 98%, they knew who we are, what we did, and how to contact us. It's just incredible. You guys have got it. You've got the message. And it's important now. And one thing we haven't done in football is the adult population. I got into you guys. I got into Paul. I got into Micky. I got into you guys when you were at the peak, and you was able to turn the message. Maybe not at first, because you're anti and you're blocked and you're like this, and you want to stay sick, and you've got other information coming in. Don't know about him. He's off with the fairies. Because the sickness is winning. But then, bit by bit, day by day, we leak things into you. And all of a sudden, you can pass a message on. We haven't done the Premier League. We've got the contract back, but we haven't done the education for the adult population of the Premier League for a while now. And it's not seat down. We've done the under-23s down, and whatever you say to them, if you don't get the role models, if you don't get the mentors, you're wasting your time. I did the cricket. I'm very conscientious with my charity. I need to do the adult population with the industries, with the stakeholders when they come on board. So 2018, I give 18 cricket seminars to the top boys. To the top boys, the ones there, if they can get hold of them, then it goes. There's no point, telling an 18-year-old Warrington player, you know what I mean? Do this, do that. And then they see kind of Paul, in the pub doing what he's doing.
Swinging off chandeliers, yeah.
Swinging off chandeliers. Yeah.
Do you know what though? I think you can sense the enthusiasm that you've got, Tony. I think because obviously it's given you such a big gift in your life. Your recovery. You want other people to have it, and I know what you mean. It can be frustrating when players they don't quite get it. And since I've retired, I look back at it now. Hindsight's a great thing, but I look back at my playing career now, and I want the young kids to sort of switch on a little bit more, be more aware of the feelings, have a look at why are they drinking, why do they feel the need to go out and have a pint? Are they masking something up? And these are the things that they do need to find out, because it's not just drink now. There's a big drug culture, there's a big prescription drug culture throughout all the sport, and I'm seeing it, and it's it is a big thing that I tried to get involved in with some of the players. Just on the rugby league, how did you get into the rugby league, Tony? Because you touched on it there with the sporting chants, but how did it come about becoming the president of the Rugby Football League?
Yeah, because we've got such a fantastic relationship. Like I say, after the PFA, the rugby league really stepped up, and Emma Rosewall, she's players' welfare officer, and we just need some people, like I told you, we just need some people that are just a little bit open and just a little bit, and you're in, and she was like, wow, yeah, this is fantastic. Tony Smith said to me before the Challenge Cup final, I think Warrington were in the Challenge Cup final, he said, why don't you come? We're in a hotel down the road. Why don't you come in and talk to the guys?
You presented our shirts that Friday night, didn't you? And said a few words for our 20. It was 2012, that, wasn't it?
You've got it. 2012. So it started then. It started then to leak, and then I went into the other clubs over the course of the next couple of years. And then Emma, we started getting a few referrals. And then, like I said, it's built to a second to none now. And so when they come to me, Ralph, because we're in kind of constant contact, I have to get paid by my charity one day, but I do too much work for nothing. I'm doing too much service. My sponsor gets the right hump with me. He said, what are you doing? You do something for nothing, you're worth nothing. Start charging them. Anyway, we're in contact with Emma quite a lot. We're always renewing, like we said, with the survey, asking the players what's happening. Occasionally I did, I think, 2018, I did 3 Wakefield education seminars for the charity. So I've always been kind of there and floating around and making sure the contract and that we're engaged in rugby league cares, in this type of stuff, as alongside, offload, all these other projects that the RFL's got going on. And Ralph just kind of went to me over dinner while we're talking about renewing of contracts and stuff. What we rotate the president every year. Why don't you come on board and be the president for a year? And I said, well, that just cement our relationship brilliantly. And they said, look, we're going to try and use a little bit of your profile, because a lot of people are going to go, well, why you got a footballer in there? Because as you well, better than me, rugby league is a pretty much northern kind of, not rich in money, but rich in emotions and spiritual. It's a wonderful. It's deep rooted in the communities of a lot of northern areas, and it's a fantastic. So Ralph just went to me. It kind of makes sense to. I've never driven up north so much in my life. Even as a player, I didn't go north. I stayed at home at Highbury all the time. You know what I mean? I said, bowl it away now. Arson, it's not for me this week, you know.
Can't stay away now.
I can't stay away.
God's country up here, isn't it?
I've learned where all they are, that Leeds area and stuff. There's about 28 teams around there. Jesus Christ.
I know.
There's just on that, Tony, what's your perception now? You spent 12 months in rugby league as the president. What's your perception of rugby now? Well, firstly, what was it before you got the presidency role, and what is it now, having actually been involved in the organisation?
Well, I've always, because of my addiction, I go into my treatment centre, and I've been getting a lot of rugby league players at their bottoms, you know, at the end of their kind of, we call it the jumping off point, you know, when they're like I was, you know, I didn't want to live, but I didn't know how to kill myself, you know, really at the end. And we see them broken, and it's just been so, sorry, but you understand, it's so great to see the humility and the courage of these 20-stone addicted to prescribed drugs or cocaine or whatever they've done, and they're completely broken, they're stripped away. And it's been a real great for the 22-year-old gambling addict professional footballer to experience that kind of different. It's like it's a different place to come from, a different human being, you know. And it was, so I've kind of experienced you guys, and there's a huge, even before I took the role, a huge respect for the humbleness. You know, if these people were, you know, if you look at them, you think, Jesus Christ, I'd cross the road. And then now I don't. I start hugging them, you know, because they're all gentle giants, and they're all like lovely, beautiful human beings. And I really got the feel of that even before I became president. So, and it's not like I'm going to leave now, because I've still got the relationship with Sporting Chance. So, and I perceive it the same way. I think you're all bonkers, to be completely honest with you, to actually do the game. You smack a retreat, smack it. I quite fancy it, to be honest with you. I was going to put a game up, right, for but I've just had a knee replacement. But what I was going to do at the end of my term as president, I was going to have a rugby league 11 against a football 11, 13, and play one half football, one half rugby. And we kind of mix it. We come to the conclusion we'd probably have to play football half first.
No, we need to play rugby first.
Yeah. And then I kind of said, I only had Duncan Ferguson and Stuart Pearce and myself. There's only 3 tables, to be honest. I couldn't find any other footballers to play.
I reckon Roy Keane would be up for it. He was a tough player. He'd have probably been up for it.
Did his uncle play or something? I think he's got it in the blood. I think Ryan Giggs.
Ryan Giggs.
Yeah, he's is his dad play for Swinton?
Yeah,
I think
that's it.
Or Uncle Dad, yeah, play for Swinton.
Yeah, I'm not sure he would do it now. He's being like that.
Yeah, his dad played for Swinton and Wales, actually. His dad was an international player for Wales, Ryan Giggs is. So yeah, and I know that he likes his rugby league. You've spoke to him a few times, Micky, haven't you?
Yeah. Because obviously he lives. I'm not too far from Worcester, where Ryan lives up that end. So yeah, bumped into him a few times.
I will do it, but I think I'm going to have to mix up the teams. I'm going to have like a rugby league player next to a footballer, an ex-footballer. So you can kind of say, you can tackle him. Here comes a big one. You know?
Did you happen to watch the Rob Burrow Jamie Jones testimonial game earlier on in the year before Leeds Bradford? Did you?
Yes, of course. It's like Sporting Chance reunion.
Yeah, like when the retired players.
I was on the mark. I went on the walk. From Leeds so I started it off because I literally just done my knee. I was like 2-3 weeks into my knee replacement. So I started the gun off. I went, go on, away you go and walk. So it started at Bradford, didn't it? I can't remember. And then they walked to Leeds, didn't they?
What technically, it was just like, but when the retired players come on, I think it was Kylie Lilloye for Leeds. He come on, and this young Bradford Bulls prop took the ball, and then Kylie Lilloye just went whack, cleaned him out. Then he retreated, then he went whack and knocked Jamie Peacock and split all his eye. And it was like, it's just, I don't know, it just never leaves you, does it? Even like 5-10 years retired, whatever. It was brilliant.
I had a lot of rugby league players that wanted to play.
Yeah.
That wasn't the issue. Like I said, I'm struggling with footballers to play.
How do you think we're moving on? How do you think we move rugby league on, Tony, being as a president and having that insight? Because you just said that it's a northern sport. It's run a lot with there's a lot of emotion in it. Not a cash-rich sport as such. How do we move it on to that next level?
Well, they're trying. You've got some overseas clubs now. Toronto and the French. It was important that they secured the funds because it's real panic there. You know what I mean? Regarding the financial situation, the sport, like you said, it's not very cash rich, so it's important, and that was brilliant work. And Simon Johnson and Ralph did, the CEO and the chairman, did amazing work in securing the funds to make sure it was, I don't think a lot of people do realise the extent that it is in the communities, certainly the Southerners, and I didn't know that. I've got hand on heart, I didn't. I'd met the guys in treatment and stuff, but hand on heart, I didn't realise how much it was actually, the part of the community, part of the, very similar, I would say, to low-level football. And you go and see your local team, you support your local team, and there's a balance again without the razzmatazz of the foreign clubs and the Super League. You might come away from your historic roots. So you've got a decision to make whether you do want to razzmatazz it and take it away to another. Because the Premier League, they did sell their soul. It's a league around the world, but there's pros and cons to it. It's 30 years of the Premier League, and that's a whole different another subject. But there is a lot of negatives in that. A lot of people have fallen out of the love with the game because of it.
Yeah.
Do you understand? So you're telling me, how do you push it on? You don't want to sacrifice what you've got, but you want to improve it step by step. I think Ralph is a good man. I respect him. I like him. I think he's very honourable. He's full of humility. And I think he's going to do right by the sport. And if that means getting maybe in Toronto and a couple of French clubs just a little bit, push it on, then what we say in the rooms, easy does it.
I think it is a tough gig. It is a tough gig in rugby league because it's... it doesn't get a lot of exposure and, there's a lot of people who bag it, but, there are a lot of people behind the scenes who are doing, a tremendous amount of work, for the game. And it's not easy. It's not easy, especially in today's climate. But, I think...
It's interesting, Paul, sorry to cut across. I don't usually cut across people, but it'd be interesting to see the World Cup next year. If they can really put that, it's an opportunity to put it on the mark, on the map. I think you've got a real opportunity there to actually push it on, a bit like the netball did. If the team does well as well, who would have thought we'd be watching netball? No disrespect. I used to love the game myself. I used to warm up with it. They held it, they did it, and I know they've got the same team, I think, coming to promote rugby as they did with the netball, and hopefully it will catch fire. And the people, I know they've got a few games. They've got a game at the Emirates, for instance, the venue. So it may be an opportunity for the sport to go, oh, actually, come on. The ball's in play them more than the other sport. It's really interactive, and people can get hooked. And there is that community feel to it. There is the love thy neighbour, go and watch your local club, have a good time, you know what I mean? You're not going to, there's no violence in it, a big problem in football in those days, So, it's a social game. the union's kind of done it a little bit, isn't it? You know, the union's still kind of there. I watched the Harlequins, and you get quite a good crowd over there. So there's opportunities. I think the World Cup's going to be very important for the sport.
Yeah. Just before you go, Tony, before we wrap it up, but rugby union or rugby league, what's your preference?
Oh, I've got to say league, and I Jesus Christ, you put me right in the place there. Don't tell Rob, Chris Robshaw is a pal of mine, so don't tell him for flip sake.
I think
league
that'll
work. League all the way. All that, all that kind of what they do with that floating around the beach. Boom, retreat. Boom, retreat.
Definitely, 100%.
Yeah, well, I think that'll wrap it up. That it's been fantastic to talk about that, and you know, especially the emotional stuff and the mental aspect of, you know, the sportsman and where we're at now as a society. And you know, I think it's been a fantastic talk. Thank you for coming on, Tony. It's been absolutely magnificent.
Great fun. I don't need my therapy today, guys. I've just had it.
Yeah.
I might start charging here. No, on a serious note, thanks again for coming on. Really appreciate you coming on, and you know, a really good insight into, you know, other things other than just your football and the rugby stuff. So, no, brilliant. Thank you.
God bless you guys.
Cheers, Tony.
Cheers, mate.